Hi again, this is Abby, and I'm still doing my tutorial series. Today we're gonna do references. I'm working from a reference, or at least like how I work from a reference. Like there's just a bunch of different ways to do it, but this is sort of my quick and sort of cheaty way to do it. You'll need to have rulers set up on Photoshop. As you can see, I have my rulers on my top and my left side, and you'll need to have a reference photo picked out. This is a stock photo that I found on Pinterest that I'm going to be working with. So what I like to do is just get things side by side to get started off with, and what you can do is you can make them as big or as small as you like, so long as you can still see your rulers. Kind of zoom in here. You want to make sure that your 0, 0 is at the top. There we go. Sort of the same thing here. You want to make sure that your 0, 0 is at the top. There we go. Now, dragging my, we don't want to dock it. Come on, quit that. Dragging my reference closer, quit that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is basically we're gonna go on the reference image and sort of find points of interest. So my first point of interest, I'm gonna draw this in white so that you can kind of see what I'm thinking of right here, is gonna be right here. So I'm gonna mark that, and that's at about 350 and in the middle of 50. So what I'm going to do is go over here to my real image, go over to 350, and about in the middle of 50, which would be right about here, and mark that point. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom part of her face here. So that's going to be about 390-ish and 225, or no, just a little past 250. So we're going to be about right here. Now my next point of interest is going to be right here. That's also going to be at 350 and right at 100. So we'll be right here. So now I have the basic outline of the face. So I can go ahead and sort of, while I'm looking at it, sketch out where my head is going to be. And of course you're going to mess up, so just be prepared for that. And I'm not trying to be exact here, I'm just trying to be approximate. So being exact would take much longer, and I don't really want to have a 16-hour video, and I don't think you guys would want to watch a 16-hour video. So we're just gonna approximate that, and there we have the head. Now for the eyes and stuff, we're gonna do kind of the same deal. I like to do one at a time. So let's go with this one. That'll be 350 and 150. 350, 150. So we'll be right about there for that eyebrow. And this one's going to be a little bit before 300 and a little bit after 150. Oh, it looks like we messed up already. I recommend doing this with the sides of the face too, so that you're sure you're exact. But we have an approximate estimate of where our eyebrows are, so we can just go ahead and add them on the face right here. Now, if I were doing this in a real image, I would be much more careful about what I'm doing. Here, I'm just going to put things where I think they should go. Now, another way to look at this is to look at the empty space. So rather than looking at, there's an eyebrow there and there's an eye there, look at the empty space right here. So that shape is sort of like a weird egg shape. So what you can do is you can come over here and basically do that same weird egg shape. And then you have your eye. Okay, now we're gonna add our nose. Our nose kind of comes up like this. And then finally our mouth. Now if you don't like going small, you can always zoom in. When I'm working on hyperrealism, what I like to do is zoom in very closely. So that I'm sure I'm getting everything in the right spot. Another thing you can do is if you think you're messing it up, and this is just something like if for some reason you don't trust yourself, you can always go, I have this in my clipboard right now, so just paste the original here, drag it down, and then you can kind of see how far off you are. So like if we wanted to right now, we could just move this head over this way and then we can continue doing our measurements. And delete that layer. And that's just something, I think it's kind of cheating, but I do it just to check myself. And it also helps to make sure that I'm like actually getting stuff sort of in the right area, at least. Okay, now we can kind of move on to the neck. And remember, look at the empty space. So look at this right here. Don't necessarily look at this. So that's sort of what I'm doing here. And you can be as rough as you want or as tight as you want. I usually do my sketches pretty rough and then clean them up later. Apologies, my cat is acting up again. I think he does this on purpose. So we're just going to kind of follow the contour of her shoulder here. And this is a little bit hard for me to see actually right now because I am right-handed. So I'm trying to do this as closely as I can. Now for something like this where you have like a straight line right here, it's probably better to use your measurements to sort of get an idea of where it is. So we're gonna say we're at like 275 and 235. Oh, we're way off. So let's not even worry about that. So what we're going to do now, instead, to approximate this angle right here, is we're going to use our finger and lay it across right here, and then slowly move our finger over to the image, and then draw underneath our finger, like so. I know you can't see my finger, but that's what I did. You can also use what they call like a little, one of those little artist sticks. I love those things. I use them frequently whenever I'm doing hyperrealism to get angles correct and distances correct. Now, since we're kind of off right now, oops. Fun thing about Photoshop resizing is sometimes you just don't do it right. Okay. We've got approximately that much space between her arm and the wall. So that means this is shorter. We're going to go up like that. And sort of follow the bottom of the arm. The arm has a little bit of a droopy shape right here. And then it goes in. And then we're going to have her chesticles, which are quite perky. That kind of dip in like almost immediately after the arm. She must be wearing like some kind of, yeah, it looks like she's wearing a corset of some type. Okay, and now the hands. So we know that we've got our bottom of our hand going across right here, and our thumb goes down and into the arm, so that means our arm is too tall. So now we've got this, our thumb going into there. This is gonna go up kinda. And we're just gonna kind of mimic the shape of the fingers, erasing things as we come across them if they are not in the right spot. Which will happen, and that's okay. Now I can tell my arm is too thick, so I'm going to go back and thin it out. I can tell my hand is not big enough. A lot of this is eyeballing, and once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to eyeball it pretty well. Let's see here, so we have a nice little curve for the body. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go literally across like that. Oops. Just to know where my hip is. And then I'm going to kind of follow the leg down until I hit the knee, and then I'm going to go literally across. So I know where that knee is. Now we're gonna give her her bikini shape here. That's a little bit too big. That's a little bit too big. That looks better. Her leg kind of comes out a little bit, then goes back in. And always remember you can kind of exaggerate features a little bit. So like with shapes and proportions on the body, if you don't like how your model is proportioned, you are free to reproportion her or him any way you want to. We're going to go ahead and add our hand right here. Have our arms sort of coming off right there. I'm going to move my reference image. Now the book comes up here, and the pages come down a little bit like that, and then this part of the book goes over here, and then we go flat across here, and then our arm is going to come kind of like that. That's a little bit too short for our book, so our book is going to be like right there. Now we're going to add the other half of her corset here. Just to give her body some shape. The other half of the book goes across her chest like this, and slightly past her cleavage goes out like this, and then this bookend actually meets her chest right there. So maybe our book does come down a little bit more than that. And this is too high. Remember, the more you do this, the more used you'll get to sort of seeing where things aren't right and being able to fix them on the fly. Now, this is not going to be a perfect match. But that's okay, we aren't going for a perfect match, we're just going for using the reference. And that's what we're accomplishing here, is using the reference. So let's, move our reference. We have our knee. And our leg goes down like this into our heels, which come like that. Now, something I notice is I always draw a little bit bigger than the actual images, so I usually end up having to resize things. And you probably will too. But that's not a bad thing. We're going to give her heels because I feel like heels look right on this. And there we go. We have used our reference to sort of make the same kind of deal. Again, you can always just go and check to see how close you are by doing that. We aren't too far off. Our shape is a little less dynamic. Our book is more or less in the right place. Our hand is more or less in the right place, but there are some things that are just slightly off. But for the most part, not too bad. Once you get one body part in the right place, it's pretty easy to get the rest of them placed just by referencing the image itself. And I kind of feel bad that I didn't give her the same kind of tilt to her hips, but that's okay. So this has been using a reference, and hopefully this helps you out. Make sure, a couple of disclaimers about references. When you do use a reference, it's best to actually list the reference that you used when you're give credit to that stock photo or that stock artist. Also, you don't necessarily have to ask permission if it's a stock photo, so long as it's like free for licensed use, or says something like feel free to use for personal reasons, just don't edit the actual photo or something like that. If it doesn't say that, it's probably best to try to contact the original photographer first or original artist first to see if they will let you use their image as a reference. And if they don't, I think it's fine to go ahead and post your image and credit them, and if they do ask you to, always take it down. I haven't had that happen personally, but I'm sure it does happen. So this has been using a reference. Hopefully you had some good information out of it, and I guess I'll see you when I do my next tutorial. Bye.